Welcome back. Just a few days ago, I tried to do Puzzle Rush Survival on chess.com, and it went really easily for a little while. I just got 22 puzzles in a row, or 19 puzzles in a row or something, and then I just collapsed, and I don't know what happened. But I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to try to not break my record, but I'm going to try to do better than I did a couple of days ago. If you haven't played Puzzle Rush Survival on chess.com, or it's called Puzzle Streak on Lichess, one cool thing about it is no matter how high you've gotten up in the puzzle ratings, this gives you an opportunity to do some easier puzzles and work your way back up, because it always starts with easier ones. So anyway, I'll try to talk through my thought processes if that will help you. And if you're higher rated than me or understand something that I missed, feel free to leave that in the comments. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to click on Puzzle Rush and check Survival. As you can see at the top right, my top score is 34. I thought it was higher than that, but I could be wrong. Certainly, their record keeping is probably better than mine. I don't like that it's called Puzzle Rush because there actually is no rush here. There's no timer. I'm playing with the black pieces. I have an extra pawn, but for some reason they didn't take it. Should they have taken it? No, they couldn't have taken it because they were in check. Can I put them back in check? Is that just checkmate? That's just checkmate because my pawn's guarding that square, my pawn's guarding that square. Okay, took me a little too long to see that. One huge difference I find between puzzles and games is that in a game you know why you put a piece where it was, or at least you should have some idea. And when your opponent puts a piece where it is, right then you can see what that piece is attacking and what it's protecting. In a puzzle, you have to look around and figure out where all those pieces are and what they're doing. Here it looks like, again, I just have checkmate in one on the back rank because I'm not in check and they're about to checkmate me right here. So I think that's mate. Okay. I do notice that many of the lower rated puzzles are just mate in ones. This one is, I have a check here. No, this one I just take their queen. Sorry, I can't move my queen except here because they would have me in check. My queen is pinned. I don't think it makes sense to do anything else other than take the queen because I can't move my queen. And if I moved my king to get out of the pin, they would just take and I would take and then their king would come out and shepherd this pawn down. So, okay. I am used to slightly higher rated puzzles. So sometimes I look for a catch or a trick in these, even though there's really not one. Here there is also a mate in one because my bishop is protecting my queen. Okay. Oh, they've just captured my rook, but I have a mate in one here. Their queen used to be defending the rook there, but it has left the defense, so... Okay. Do I have another mate in one here? I think I have another mate in one. Their queen definitely shouldn't have run over there and done nothing. It probably should have come back to protect the back rank. I'm just checking, just to make sure. There's nothing they can do about that. Okay. Always want to double check those just because it might be a trap. Like in this instance, that's not checkmate because nothing would be protecting my rook and they would just capture it. I do have a check though, right here with my bishop. Their king can't come over here because my rook is protecting that entire file. And if they moved back, I would put my rook down there on d1 and it would be mate. I assume they might try to block with this pawn, but then I would just take that pawn and we would be in the same situation. So I think I'm going to have a mate in 3 or so here. Okay. And then they have to move over and that's mate. Okay, this is going a little better so far. But again, we are in very easy puzzles right now. I think you can see that the first one was rated 192. I can't see the last one, but it looks like it was rated in the upper 400s. Okay, they have just attacked my queen with this pawn. I think I have checkmate in the corner there on a1 because my queen would then cut off both of the squares in front of it as well as that one. They don't have a way to block or to take my queen. So I can just take the rook and that would be check. Their king would then have to get in front of their pawn. And then what would I do? I guess bring my king closer? They could okay. Then they could try to get out from in front of their pawn like so, but then I would have a mate down here. So yeah, I think I take the rook with check. That forces them in front of the pawn. Then I think I have to bring my king to protect those two squares. So their king I wouldn't be able to get out much further that way. And if, like I said, if they did, then I would bring my queen, something like that. Oh, it just stopped after the one move. Okay. I was going further and further. Okay, I do notice that their rook is pinned. They cannot move that rook right now, so this should be checkmate on the back rank with my rook on e1, because there's nothing they can do about that. All right. I am playing with the white pieces. They have a bunch of connected passed pawns advancing. They probably should have checked me, but I'm not sure. Let's see, do I have any checks? I do have a check right here on g4. Their king cannot get out of check to the f file because my knight is protecting both of those squares. If I check, they only have two choices. One is in h8 and one is h7. If they went to h7, I would bring my knight in here to f6. That would be check, forcing them to the back row, and then I would have a mate on g8. But if I check and they went to h8, I would still put my knight on f6, preparing the mate on g8, I think. And I don't think there's anything they can do about that other than check me, and I would just get out of check. Okay, and they did go to h8, but this prepares mate because their king can't move because of my rook, and then my knight would prevent it from going there, and I don't think they can stop checkmate on g8. Okay, they check me. I don't have any choice but to go to h2. Okay, and that was the end of the puzzle because it was, no matter what they did, it was going to be made on the next turn. All right, now we're in this upper 600 ratings, the last one, so this one I assume is in the low 700s. They have gone down here. What should they have done? They probably should have taken my queen. They were a piece ahead. Yeah, I think they should have taken my queen because the fact that they didn't means I have a check down here. Their only legal move then would be to go to h2, and then I would follow with the check here. Not here, because if I checked on e5, they would block with their pawn, and then I wouldn't have a follow-up. But if I check down there, they move out to h2, and then I check on f4, and they block with that pawn, then I have mate on f2, I think. Okay. Some of these patterns, after they show up so many times, I just get them. Here I'm pretty sure it's queen to h7. Pretty sure that's checkmate because the pawn guards this getaway square, the queen guards those two squares as well as these. They can't block with their queen, they can't capture my queen. So that was checkmate. Okay, and now we are in the 700s. Okay, I'm playing with the black pieces, so my pawns are going that direction. Well, I can't move this pawn, so we know that's not the first move. And I can't move this pawn, so we know that's not the first move. So my move here has to be either a king move or a rook move. If I take their rook right now, I assume they would take mine. But I have a way to save my rook. I can check, which will be protected by both of my pawns. And then when they move out of check, probably to their one of the, but they have several choices to get out of check. And then I would take their rook, and they wouldn't be able to advance that pawn because my rook is protecting that square. So I think it has to be this check and then capturing their rook. Do I have any checks? I do have a few checks, but that one is protected by their queen. I have a check here, but I think their king would capture. So what about checking on e5? I think that's checkmate. Their rook would have to block, but then I would just capture it. All right, two-move checkmate. If that pawn wasn't in the way, I would... Oh no, I don't have a mate there because their bishop's down there. What about this? Can they stop that? I guess they could. If I moved, because let's stop and go through my checklist. Do I have any checks? I do not currently have any checks in this position. Do I have any captures? The only capture I have is this pawn, but that pawn is protected by their bishop. So threats. That's where I'm going to threats. My mind automatically went there, but I wanted to go ahead and consciously check all the options. So I'm starting to get that feeling that I'm going to miss this puzzle, because then where would they put their rook? I don't know. Would they bring it over here? Would they? No idea. That's what I'm going to play. That was wrong. Okay. Well, fortunately, I get 3 misses before it's over. I do have a check, but their bishop is protecting that square. I have a check with my queen on a5. I think those are my only... No, there's a check here with the pawn as well. What would they do if I checked on a5? They could just get out of check to either one of those squares. Oh, I have another check. And that one's mate. I almost didn't see that. Wow. Queen captures c3, I think is checkmate. No, it's not, because they'll just block. So is there a way to take their knight first? No, not really. About that first. Again, they could just move out of check, but they could capture with their bishop. What if I put my queen there on c3 first, which is check, and my queen is safe? Then they block with their knight, but then I check with my knight, which I think they would capture with their bishop, but then I would take with the pawn, one of my pawns, I don't know which one. I don't think that works. I don't think that results in a checkmate. Wait, I think I got it now. I think I got it, because remember when I said this pawn move was a check? Okay, queen to c3 check. They block with their knight, but now my queen is guarding that square, so I can play b4. But then their king slides forward, and then I can play bishop to c6 check, but then their king comes here, and I still don't have a mate. Wow. I'm going to take it. It's taken too long. Oh, it was just one move? Well, how was I going to get out of that? Okay, that's the one that says 955. Hopefully at the end of this video, I will remember to go back to the one that said 955. In fact, I'm just going to open a text editor really quickly, notepad, and write down number 955, check at end of video. And I will try to remember to come back to that one. I have a check here with my rook, not my queen, because the bishop is protecting it. So I think I should check there with my rook on e7. They don't have to take with their bishop, but if they did take with their bishop, then I would have mate with my queen here. So I think instead of taking with the bishop, they might move their king out of check. But in that case, I could move my rook someplace else, anywhere else, and it would be a discovered check from my queen. They would have to move out of the way and I would win their queen. Oh, if they moved out of the way, that would be mate. So I'm going to do that. Oh, and it stopped right there. So many of these lower rated puzzles just end after one move. And I'm trying to calculate a 3 or 4 move variation. Okay, they have brought their rook over here, perhaps preparing a checkmate. Okay, I do notice that their king is immobilized. My king keeps their king from going to any of these squares, not to mention that their rook is in the way. My pawn, my g-pawn covers f4 and h4. My h-pawn covers g5, and of course my queen is also covering g5 and h5. So if I could check them now safely, it would be mate. I can check them with my rook. Rook to g6, I think they would then be forced to capture with the pawn, and then I would capture with my queen, and that would be checkmate. Oh, and they have to block with the bishop, but that's checkmate. I do notice that my bishop is cutting off important squares for their king. If I put my queen on f6, I'm threatening checkmate. I don't think they can get out of that. Let's see, what do they do if I play queen to f6? I guess they could try to check me or something. They might move their king over so that when I check them on g7, they can get out. But then I could follow that check with my bishop. I could check on g7. No. I think if I went there and they went to f8, I would check on h8. That way, when they got out of check, I could follow with my bishop. And if they captured the bishop or moved out of check, I would just win the rook. Because I don't have any checks in this position, and I don't have any captures other than a couple of pawns. So I think it has to be, the threat of mate. What else do I have? I can threaten their queen. My bishop is protecting that square. But then they could take my queen. I could take their queen, and it would be check. But then they would just move out of check. So yeah, that doesn't seem as good. Oh, it was just one move again. Oh my. Okay, well I've gotten 19 of these, but I've already missed one. So do I have any checks? I do have a check. That looks like it loses my queen for a bishop. I have a check down here, but that looks like it just loses a bishop. Anything else? I think those are my only, I believe those are my only 2 checks. What about captures? Well, that's a capture, but we've already discussed that. I do not have any other capture. Threats. I may not have any threats. I don't know. If I go down there and they do capture, I could check with my queen. The king would just go back to where it was, I think. This is about 1100 or 1200 rated puzzle. And I'm not seeing any captures. I'm not seeing any threats. I'm not seeing any checks that work. I know a lot of puzzles, especially the higher rated you go, start with the queen sacrifice, but I don't see a benefit to this sacrifice because then they're threatening my bishop and I have to move it someplace and I don't have that many safe squares to move it to. Also, my queen doesn't have very many squares it can move to right now. What can I threaten by moving this bishop around? Nothing? I can put it there, but does that threaten anything? It protects these 2 squares, but from what? Or for what? I am noticing maybe the fact that that bishop is pinned right now has something to do with it. A lot of times in a puzzle, if a piece is pinned, that's important. So what about threatening that bishop with my bishop? Not here because they would just win it. So what about my dark squared bishop to c3? I'm putting pressure on the pinned piece. What can they do then? Because then I just win the bishop, right? I'm threatening to win a piece. That's the best I can come up with, is the fact that their bishop is pinned to their king. I don't see anything else. I'm going to try it. That was it. I didn't expect that, but at least I got the right move on the first try. Okay, well now if I take their queen, they take back, and that's just oh, but then I would win this pawn. Is that important? I'm a pawn down right now. Maybe that's important. Wait, no, I can still win both pieces. Okay, I take this with check. Then when they take back, I get their queen, and so I will have removed a bishop from the board. Wow, I almost missed that. Okay. Wait, I'm playing with the white pieces. Oh, and I'm 1 square from promotion. Correction, 2 squares from promotion, because I have to get all the way to e8. Okay. Is this, this might be like the Philidor position or the Lucena position, one of those, or arising from one of those. But I have a question. Isn't this just checkmate? Because my pawn protects both of those 7th rank squares, and my king protects all of these. Their king can't move. I think that's just mate. All right. That was 1200 rated puzzle. Mate in 1. Rook checking the king on the back rank. Not sure why their queen would have just made that move, but maybe it had a reason. Maybe maybe I had a piece there that it captured. I don't know. I do have a couple of checks here. I think if I capture the rook, the king takes back, then I can check with my rook on h2. The king would go back to where it is now, and I couldn't check it again right away. What if I check here first? Wait, I can check there with my bishop. What if I check with my bishop? Yes, that's got to be it, because that forces the king to go over. I mean, that's not the only legal move. The rook could capture my bishop on h2, but then I would take with my queen and it would be mate. So if the king moves over, then I can pull my bishop back to say here on c7 and it's check. Then they have to block with their rook and that's mate, or move back over. But I don't think it works if I take with my queen first, because then they capture. And at that point, yes, I could take with my bishop, but then they'd move over. But then I'd bring my bishop back here, discovering check with my rook. When they moved out of check, I could then take their queen and I would be up a piece. But doesn't this work better? Because it leaves me with a queen. Is it the queen sacrifice, which I know results in winning their queen? Or is it the bishop sacrifice, which results in a mate or winning their queen? I'm going to go with the bishop. Oh, it was. Okay, but then it just stopped and went on, so I couldn't see what the deal was. All right, I do have a check here with the bishop. Bishop to a7 check. The king would have to come out. Then I could check, but then the king would get away. Okay, well, that's not great. Oh, no. When the king comes out, I can check here. And the queen might be tempted to take, and I would take back. But if the queen didn't take, that would force the king out further, and then I would check here and win their queen. I think that's the sequence. But I'm not sure. We'll find out. Okay, and instead of going down here, which I was tempted to in the at the beginning, h1, that just lets the king out, and I can't get my rook over here from there. But here, the king can't go back because of the bishop and the rook, so it has to go this way. And then I will win the queen at that point, I think. Oh. Why did the pawn promote to a knight? It's because it knew I would capture it? I'm going to capture it. All right. Well, I've already done better than my previous video, but these puzzles, as you can see, are getting slightly more difficult. I do have a couple of checks. One check is here on a4. Where would the king go? It would have multiple options at that point. One is capturing the rook, but I don't think that's really good, because either the king or the queen could capture. It also looks like I'm about to lose a rook, and I'm about to get checkmated. Right there. Well, I would have to move over, but then I would very soon thereafter get checkmated. Actually, if they took the rook and I took back, that would be made. So maybe it needs to be a check or something where I can win that knight. Let's see, check. If the king moves over, I could check again and win the knight. Okay, if the king moves forward, I could check again and win the knight. If the king went over to f7, I could check again and win the knight. And that gets rid of the knight problem, and my queen ends up on d2 protecting f2. So I'm going to try that. Okay, it went there, so I think it has to be this, which wins the knight and guards against the coming check attempt by the opponent. I think it has to be that. Okay, it went back in there. And so I don't have a good follow-up check. It's winning the knight, right? That was what I thought from the beginning. Oh, it was. Okay. Let's see. I do have a check, but the pawn just takes that. I have a check here. Bishop to h3, but then the king just goes back where it was. I have a check here, which forces the king back one way or another. Or I could just take the bishop, but then I think the king takes, and I don't have a follow-up check. What's the play here? Oh, if I check here, the king has to move over or come... Oh, it can't come out because of my rook, so it has to move over, and then I will win the bishop with my rook. And that will be checkmate. Okay. All right. Took me a second, but I saw it. Okay, we're number 25. I don't know. Does that include the one I missed? I could count up all those squares over there, but I'm not going to. Surely it doesn't count the one that I missed. Okay, I'm looking around, looking to see if I have any checks. I don't think I do. I don't have a way to get down here right now to check. My rook is in danger from a knight once again. Don't have a lot of escape squares for it. I guess I could pull it up one, but then wouldn't the knight just go in there? I don't know. But then I could move my rook over here, threatening that knight, and checkmate. I could put my knight here, threatening their rook, but then what would they do? Would they take mine, and I would take theirs? And then they would, I don't know. Do I have any captures? I don't have any captures except that pawn. I think also they might be planning an infiltration here, protected by their knight. So what if I moved my queen to c6? Surely you see what I'm thinking by now. That forks their two knights, threatens both of them. So then they couldn't sit here preparing for the little mate that I talked about. That would force them to take my rook, right? Queen to c6. No, it doesn't force them to take my rook, but you know what I'm saying? Because what I'm really threatening is checkmate on the back rank. So they would have to do something to protect against that, and then I would win this knight. I think that's a good plan. Okay, I'm glad I saw that. White pieces. I'm playing with the white pieces. My opponent's getting very close to something. Oh, that's probably what they should have done. Yeah, why didn't they do that? I don't know. That's what they should have done. I would have had to have moved over, and then they could have put their rook here, and that would have been mate. But they didn't. So maybe I have something. I do have a check with my bishop on c4. That forces the king over one. I would have a check over here, but that forces their rook back, I think. Or oh no, their knight could also take there. Maybe that's not it. But I do need to check now, because that's mate if I don't. If I can't protect against this checkmate, or checkmate on the other end against them, then I lose. That's not my only opening check. I also have, what about that one? Queen to c6 check. Is that any better? I don't know. It does allow me to protect against this, but not that. Queen to c6. if they stayed on the back rank at that point, then I would win their rook with check. So I assumed they would come off the back rank to one of these two squares. Then I could check here on b7, and if they had moved to e7, they could come out this way, and then I couldn't check again. Okay, so maybe that's not the best first check, because they can always go to e7. If I take their rook, then I lose. And if I go here and check, then they come out. And I would have to check again here, and then they could just take with their queen. But then their queen wouldn't be threatening mate anymore. So it would have won that much at least. Okay, so maybe the bishop check is best after all, because that only leaves the king one legal move. So I'm going back to bishop to c5 check. Leaves the king only one legal move. Then if I check with this bishop, they don't have to take with their knight. They could continue moving out of check, but what if they took with the knight? They took with the knight. Oh, then I would win the rook. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. I think it took me way too long to see that. Maybe I'm getting sleepy. Well, it was wrong, and we'll never know why. Okay, well that took care of that. I think this is checkmate here on h3. Is it not? Because I'm not in check. My queen isn't pinned. Nothing of theirs is protecting h3. That was a ridiculously easy one after the last one I was just on. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, they've attacked my queen here. I do have a check, which is a very forcing check. It forces them to capture back. I don't know if that's any good. Probably not. But I could, at that point, move my knight someplace, exposing this check from my bishop. Why won't that draw a line? Okay. So let's just say queen captures h7 check. They have to take back. No choice. Then I move my knight someplace. That exposes the check from the bishop. The king could come forward then. So maybe that's not it. Okay. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe I don't know. Ooh. What about that? That's got to be it, right? Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's it, because what I need to do is, this saves my queen and threatens mate at the same time. Check with the knight now on f6. Because if the king just moves over, well then that's checkmate. So I don't think the king would just move over. I think they would take back, but it doesn't matter because that's still checkmate. Okay. And that's checkmate. Okay. Wow, we're in the 1600s now. I do have a check with my knight. I think that's my only check here. I think wouldn't they just take it? I assume they would just take it. Let's see, what else do I have? What about rook to h6 check? That forces the bishop to take there. Then I check with my knight on f6, and my rook is cutting off those squares from back here, so the king has to go in the corner, and then I take that and it's mate. I think that's it. Wow, I'm actually surprised I saw that one. That one was pretty good. Okay, what happens if I check here? Well, they'll just take it. So if I check here, they just take it. What happens if I take the bishop? They just take it. That's a lot of just getting taken. So it may not be a check. It might be, though. It might be a check. It might be some sort of sacrifice to something. I don't know. At least I'm not currently under a threat of checkmate. What if I went there? Oh, that would be dumb because they would take my bishop. What's the problem with me taking their bishop now? They would just take back, I think. Okay, so let's say I take their bishop, which protects this pawn temporarily. But then they would take back with their knight, which threatens this pawn. But then I would advance that pawn. So they would have to move that knight someplace. I don't know where. Maybe down there. Then I would advance this pawn. And so these pawns would be protecting each other right here. Maybe that's it. That was it. Okay, well then it has to be this, right? Oh, they did that. Okay. Well, why shouldn't I just advance that pawn? I don't know. I should just advance the pawn and then do this. Oh, okay. Well, I made it to 30. No, I don't know what to say about that one. Sorry, and I apologize for any dead air. Here I have two rooks. my opponent has 2 rooks and my opponent has 2 extra pawns, and they're both passed pawns. So I have to watch out for that. If I check with this rook, they'll take that one. And if I check with that one, they'll take it. So that rook's in trouble unless I do have a check here on f4. They can't move that way because of my h pawn. They can't come here because of my f pawn. They can't come here because of my g pawn. They can't come here because of my f pawn. So they would have to go to e5. And then they have to go to e5. I could follow up check then with the other rook or the f pawn. Which one would be better? If I followed up with the f pawn, then they could come down or over. But that's got to be the first move, right? Or should there be a pawn move first? Wait. What if I check them now with this pawn? They don't have any, because right now my rook's cutting off all of that. Okay, my e rook is cutting off all of these, and my f pawn is protecting that, and my h pawn is protecting g5. So if I check now, that would allow them only one move, and that would be coming forward, and then that would be mate after they blocked with the rook and I captured it. I think. Oh, it just stopped there. Okay. Wow. I'm at 47 minutes. Okay, I need some more coffee. Okay, I am in check. I have to do something about that. I have to get out of check. I can get out of check only 2 ways. I can get out of check by moving my king to f4. But then I think they would play rook to f3, and that would be checkmate. Because right now those 2 pawns are cutting off all these squares. Their bishop's hitting down through here, and their rook's cutting off all of this. Yeah, so I think if I went there, I think that's checkmate. Okay, the only other option is to take the pawn. So, but if I do that, I think they wouldn't take here because my queen's protecting that square. Oh, well then. Okay, that one seemed cut and dry. I only had 2 choices. One of them resulted in checkmate. One of them did not. Do I have any checks in this position? No, I do not have any checks. I do have a couple of threats, however. I think I can take this pawn with either my rook or my bishop. If I take with my bishop, it looks like my bishop is pinned to my rook, but it really wouldn't be because I would be threatening this check and discovering the attack on the rook. And what would they do to get out of that? I guess they could move their king. I can also take this pawn. This is the pawn that's passed. This pawn here in the center on the d file is a passed pawn with the rook behind it. So to me, that's a much greater target than that pawn over there. On the other hand, if I captured the e-pawn with my rook, I'm threatening checkmate. So if I take this and they take my rook, I take back with my bishop, and then I'm threatening both that bishop and this pawn. So I don't know what they would do then, but I'm going to take it with my rook. Okay, that wasn't it, and that's the end of this. So I'm going to look at the 3 that I missed, but first I'm going to check the one that I got right but didn't understand, which was this one here, 955. Let's check that one. First move was, okay, their king moved here, and I got it wrong. No, I got it right. This is the one I got right. Okay, I played there, and that was the end of it. And the theme was mate in 1. But what I didn't understand is, how is that checkmate? It's not mate in 1. They can block. So let's go to the analysis board. Yeah, it's mate. If they play here, and Stockfish, yeah, it's mate in 6. Okay, so I'm gonna uncheck. I'm gonna thumbs down the mate in 1 because it's definitely not a mate in 1. I don't know why anybody would have selected that. So, but that is by far my only good move, and I did find that. Okay, but then they're going to block with their knight, because as I said, that's their only legal move. You can see that on the screen. Then what do I do? Okay, oh, it says bishop to c6 first. I was going to check with this pawn, but it says that gives the advantage back to the opponent. So I'm glad the puzzle didn't go that far. That's why I consistently say when these puzzles are one movers, but you don't know where it's going after that, the puzzle should keep going. Because I was definitely going to play that next. You remember me talking about that. It says this knight to c4 check leads to a mate in 7, but by far my better move here is bishop to c6. So what happens then? I never would have found that in a game or in the puzzle had it continued. It says their best move is to capture this pawn, which doesn't make any sense to me. Because, oh, I understand why I would have played bishop to c6 now, because now this would be mate. That's why they have to take that. Okay. But what if they did something else instead? Like, I don't know, put their rook here to defend against that. Well, then I can just, it still says my best, oh, now my only move is this one, which then they would capture, but then I would capture that with, oh, with my d pawn, because I still need this pawn here for mate. And now it doesn't matter what they do, I have a mate in 1. I think that puzzle definitely should have continued. But the reason that it didn't, the reason that this puzzle didn't continue is because after this move and after their block, I have 2 moves that aren't that different. Bishop to c6 is better, but this is okay. And that's why the puzzle didn't continue. But it should have, because I couldn't see a way past that. And I still think I would struggle to find bishop to c6. I would be tempted to play this, but I would understand that they would take it and I would take back, and then I would think about checking here, but they would come down, and then I would check here and they would get out, because that's what we discussed earlier. They would just get out. So, all right, let's look at the 2 that I missed, the 3 that I missed. This one was one that I missed, and this one, they brought the rook down here. And I think I played bishop to h6, and that was wrong. So it should have been, right? Yeah, that was incorrect. Okay, so it should have been something else. What should it have been? This was something else that I thought of. That was also wrong. All right, then I have no idea, so I'm going to click the hint button. It was... Well, that's embarrassing. It was just taking the rook. All right. Well, I did see that that bishop was cutting off squares from the king, but I did not see that the bishop also could go to any of these squares. All right. So, yes, that one was just taking the rook and then taking the pawn and then taking the other bishop and coming out a bishop and 2 pawns ahead. All right. Well, that one was easy. I should have seen that. I'm embarrassed. And let's go on to this one. This is the one where I thought of this check. And the reason that I thought of that, because that left only 1 legal move. And then after that, I would win the rook. Or is it winning the rook now? Is it taking the rook now? I don't think it is. They still have this. I would have to come over. I don't know. Or is it one of these checks? Was it that check? No. That was another one that I thought of. It wasn't taking the rook now. Oh, was it this check? Oh my. Now taking the rook? Or no, now doing this? No. Now taking the rook? No. Well, it's not that. Okay, hint button. Oh. Oh my. Okay, let's look at this again. I should have seen. I did not look at all my checks. Why did I not see that? That is a check, and that's a safe check. Oh my. And that's mate. Goodness. Well, no wonder no wonder my rapid rating is not getting any higher. I'm missing simple things like that. Okay. And the last one that I failed, I will just click on it. In this one, they took that pawn. I took with my rook, and that was incorrect. Should I have taken with my bishop, which was my first idea? No. I should have, but I did this in the puzzle, and that was also wrong. So, should I have taken with the rook? Oh, I should have taken with the rook. And then this, and then this, and then winning their bishop. Okay. Why was that so much better? Did they didn't have to take back, did they? I guess they did, otherwise I would have gotten their rook for free. And then I was threatening mate, so they had to give themselves an escape square, and here I fork and win this piece. Okay. It says rooks on the 7th is the theme. They have a rook on back here, but I did not have any rooks on their 7th ring, so that's not correct. Okay, let's go to the analysis board. They played there. Me taking with the C rook is the only one that gives the advantage. So what would have been so bad had I taken with the D rook? Oh, then they could have just brought this over? That's what it says. Well, why wouldn't they do that when I took with this rook then? Yeah, that's actually their best move, is to bring that rook over so I'm not threatening to win that rook or checkmate. So why they didn't do that in the puzzle for some reason. Now what would have been my best move? Oh, to go down here. And now I'm basically going to win that. I'm going to win that rook for a rook. Because their best move is g5 or g6. Okay. And then I would take it and they would have to take back. And I would come down here and they would go up there and I would still win their bishop. So we end up in almost the same exact situation, except this pawn is here instead of there. But that was my fault. Okay. Okay. I understand that. But I don't know why one rook taking was better than the other rook taking. I really don't. Thank you for watching. If any of you made it this far, I really, truly do appreciate it. I'm sorry for how embarrassing those 3 missed puzzles were. And the one I got right, but didn't like that I got it right because I didn't understand where it would go from there. I'm still convinced I would miss that one in a game. But the 3 that I got wrong, I should have gotten right. I just need to be more thorough with my checklist. I need to look for checks. I need to look for captures. I would have seen that bishop being able to capture that rook had I just looked for all the captures. But for some reason, I didn't see it. So just more practice. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.